watching a fellow crowd eater on YouTube, Johnny Builds, and one of his latest projects, and he was using a tambour mat as a door for a desk. I've seen quite a few tambour mats in various projects, and looking at this now, the way he was using it and the way he was unfolding it, a thought crossed my mind.
Can I make a playmat out of this?
I quickly off-screen threw something together out of scrap plywood and a t-shirt I didn't care about, just to make sure that this was actually feasible. And yes, this is feasible. Alright, so let's get started for real. Using my unparalleled computer graphics skills, I threw this together to visualize it. The main body's going to be out of maple, and I want there to be purple heart as well to match this commander sleeve I built. You can watch the video for that up in the right-hand corner, find the link in the description. But I also wanted to add a element for a combat, something to break up the middle to make it more interesting, which is what that Paduk is going to be used for. I decided to start by ripping the Paduk. This seemed to be the most challenging aspect of the build, so I decided to tackle it first because I'm lazy, and once I get this done, it's all smooth sailing. It's all downhill from here. Or maybe if it's downhill, does that mean it's bad? Or is it easier? I have no idea, I don't remember. But I found a cute pattern I liked, which was cutting everything to a 60-degree angle. Unfortunately, when I used the strips like that, as you saw, there was too much variance in the size. So I decided to try ripping things and creating a bar out of the 3 rips I built, and then cutting that into little sections to get the repeated pattern that I wanted, which is adorable. And this worked out pretty well. It came out uniform, there was no gaps in any of the glue joints. But as you see, the grain pattern doesn't look nearly as good as when I cut the strips. So, after thinking for a bit, I had an idea. I decided to rip I decided to rip a bunch of strips of this that were thicker and then cross-cut them. After which, I can glue those together with the grain orientation the way I want. So I can rip it afterwards to get the same block I needed, so they could all be uniform without the end grain that's exposed on every single piece. That way it could be all straight grain. You'll see what I'm referring to in a second. This blue tape seemed like a good idea when I was putting it down to get 0 clearance, and that way the pieces wouldn't get stuck. But every time I made a cut, the thing just would go flying somewhere and have to pick it up and find it from some other location. So I guess it made it look prettier. So thumbs up for pretty cut sauce. Now that I have this red accent out of the way and the width of all the cuts I'm going to be making, time to work on the zones. Well, I started to cut and rip this purple heart, I realized that just throwing some purple squares into the maple would, while it would look nice, it just wouldn't look finished, you know? So I decided to also add this maple and some more Paduk. Just gonna glue them in little strips so I can make borders around every single piece, and hopefully it'll add some nice contrast and some nice interest to it, so it's not just a random purple square in the middle of wood. I didn't know what to say during this section, so I thought I'd tell you one of the more favorite jokes I've heard in the past year. Alright, ready? What do you call a black person on the moon? And I'm going to do what a lot of other people do, which is say, put your answers in the comments. Whoever gets it right wins, blah, blah, blah. I have a very small channel. I could use the extra engagement. But, first person to get the answer correct, I will give them a surprise. A surprise prize. A prize that is a surprise. Yep.
Wow, could I have done a worse job on this? Failing to prepare is preparing to fail.
I'm already halfway through the project, and something that came up that really worried me was nothing's gone wrong. Normally there's some big explosion, or I ruin the piece I'm working on, or I realize I made a bad mistake and the measurement's off. But this went too smooth. Like You know when you're doing something and you don't know what's going to happen, but everything's going according to plan, and you just have this feeling in the back of your head like, it can't be this easy. Nah, something's up. Someone's tricking me. And the further along you go, the more you are convinced that something has gone wrong and you just aren't aware of it yet. That's been this in this entire project. Now, I had minor hiccups here and there. As you just saw, the piece broke as I ripped it, or I had to do a couple different attempts to get the red zone and the pattern I liked the way I wanted it. But those aren't things going wrong. That's just me doing it better. And you may be thinking, since I'm saying this, that something really bad is about to happen. And that's what it felt like for me the entire time. Oh my gosh. Anyway, things went pretty smooth. There's the piece that broke I was referring to, but it was okay. I was just able to take it out completely, and the grain orientation and pattern wasn't damaged or ruined because of it. So it made it 1.5 inches smaller. That's not that bad. That's okay. But everything went according to plan. I had no plan on what this was going to look like. I just went along, and every day I was like, all right, I'm going to try and figure this out. And everything I tried worked. Does this mean I'm getting better? Huh. And for those of you who are saying my fingers are getting too close to the saw, you're not wrong, but you're also not right. One thing I've noticed is that the closer my fingers to the saw, the more mindful I am about what I'm doing. And there's stable things. It's not like I'm doing this freehand, so it's not really dangerous in my mind. I'm mindful about what's going on. I'm not listening to music. I'm not having conversations. I'm there in the moment using the saw. And yes, my finger's 2 inches away from the saw, so I'm careful. There's an old adage I've heard a lot that I like, and it goes thusly. Bear in mind, I'm probably going to butcher this. The most dangerous tool in the workshop is the one you are not familiar with. And the second most dangerous tool in the workshop is the one you are most familiar with. Anyway, back to the project. I now had to figure out how to attach it and make it into an actual mat. I had all the wood arranged how I wanted it, and so my first thought was to use a playmat I don't use anymore. I also found some carpet stay that seemed interesting. It was just sitting around my workshop, and I figured this would be a good time to test it out. I first tried using contact cement. It seemed to be working pretty well for some fabrics and some applications. Not with the mat. It just peeled straight up. The carpet worked a little bit better, fared better, but I figured I'd try it with wood glue and see how that worked. It worked very well for the t-shirt in the very beginning, so why not try it with this? And weirdly enough, in both instances, the random carpet stay I found in my shop worked better than the existing playmat. So that's what I'm going to use. Carpet material in my quote-unquote fine woodworking project. Now, have I ever adhered carpet stay to wood before? No. No, I have not. That would be weird. So I'm just pretending it's like anything else. Using wood glue. The material is kind of fibrous, so in theory it should work.
Why is it curled so much? I don't know what happened, but this thing became a frickin' chip. I don't know why. It must have been very moist in here. The entire thing is still dry. It's still wet. Okay.
So after using the mediocre sized brain I was dealt with, I let the thing dry in my house and it came out perfect. Perfectly flat. None of the edges were bound together with glue. Nothing seeped in, so I was able to break it apart and roll it up. After squaring it up and cutting off the edges and the excess fabric, i.e. carpet fabric, I could not be more happy with this. This is a scrapwood project that I just decided to do after watching a video. I mean, I'm using a frickin' carpet stay in this. It has no right to come out as good as it did for something I decided to do. Excuse me, my eyes are up here. Perverts. If you made it this far in the video, I want to say thanks for watching. I wish I had more time to upload more and to work on more projects. I have so many different things I want to make. But after work, home life, family, and various other obligations, filming projects and then uploading them is something I find myself having less and less time to do. So if you enjoyed this or think I've earned it, subscribing or leaving a comment is a great way to tell me there's value to it, and I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.